Evening, everyone. It is 5 p.m., June 3rd, 2024, and it's time to call the Board of Public Works and Safety meeting to order. Ms. Jones, roll call, please.
Mayor Barnett.
Present.
Mr. Austin.
Here.
Ms. Gross.
Present.
Mayor Yvonne.
Thank you. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Is there any announcements, public comment that doesn't have anything to do with the, yes, sir, please get up.
Evening, I'll be quick. My name's Chad McCullough, representing the Memorial Day Mile, and just wanted to thank the street department, fire department, police department, Parks and Recreation Department, and this board for the support of that race. We had a great race on Monday, 1,250 people plus, a couple hundred spectators, and a lot of folks went to the service afterwards on the courthouse square. So thanks again, just appreciate your support.
Thank you for being the leader of this. Good job.
You're welcome. Thanks all.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none, we will close and go to consent agenda.
Move to approve the minutes for May 20th meeting with the Board of Works and also the approval of claims.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we go to old business. There isn't any. Right on to new business. The number one item here, request to close City Hall parking lot for window cleaning. That probably didn't need to be on the agenda. However, to stay consistent with what we try to do with everybody else downtown, we put that on here so we can get it on the record. The original request was June the 5th. I got an email a little bit earlier today that is asking that we do it June the 11th at 6 a.m. until the end of the day. So that's the proposal, close City Hall parking lot that day.
Move to approve the request to close City Hall parking lot for window cleaning on June the 11th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Next item, request approval of change order number 3, the final for the State Road 44 Trail Project. City Engineer Mark Richards.
Yes, sir, thank you. This is a final change order. It's a balancing change order that accounts for all the changes in quantities from the original estimate on the project. This is, let me find the right page. This is an increase in overall cost of the project of $36,975.23. It required, the project required some additional excavation, a reduction in subgrade treatment, an addition in compacted aggregate, reduction in asphalt for the trail, an increase in concrete sidewalk, and an increase in curb and gutter on the project. So that accounts for the overall increase in the cost, and that is a project that has been paid from Board of Works, and I would suggest that the change order be paid from Board of Works as well.
Okay, Mark, just a question on that one. I failed to ask you this question this morning. That did have something to do with a grant on that project, is that correct?
Yeah, we did have an NDOT grant on this project, same grant as for the East Jeff Street sidewalk project.
Okay, and this part here would solely be on us, the 36.9, the grant doesn't cover any of that?
The grant won't cover any of that, no, because
Okay.
those funds have been expended. The grant funds have, and so at the end of the project, if there are no funds left over, then the city's obligated to pay for that.
Okay, and then just for the record today, so everybody knows, we talked about being state-funded projects. It takes a long time to get the final, and that's why it's taken so long to get here today.
Yes, that's correct. It takes a while to go through and do the final accounting for the project. It takes a while to get the final inspection scheduled and completed on it, typically several months. So this change order was at the direction of NDOT to Crossroad, who was the inspector on the project.
Okay. And I'm okay with the increase, knowing that they did the work and we got a good product and this is what it is, so.
I think we had one change order on the project that covered some riprap on the, one other change order that covered riprap. So, and that was just a few $1,000s, like $4,000 or $5,000 if I recall correctly.
Okay. All right.
I'd make a motion to approve the request for change order number 3, which is the final for the State Road 44 Trail Project.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Next item, request approval and execution of joint use and maintenance agreement with NDOT for school zone and pedestrian beacons located on State Road 44. City Engineer Mark Richards.
Yes, thank you. This is an agreement that outlines the obligations that the city will have and that obligations that NDOT will also have for us to operate school zone beacons and school crossing beacons that are on State Road 44 between Creekside Elementary and Custer Baker Intermediate School. There's no cost obligation other than work that we may have to do. The agreement requires that we get a permit to work within the NDOT right-of-way. We've already applied for and received that permit. It requires that we submit a maintenance of traffic plan prior to doing any work within NDOT's right-of-way. Those are things that we're prepared to take care of. And so I would be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I would recommend approval of the agreement.
Mr. Mayor, I do have about 9 comments because Mark was kind enough to get it to me months in advance. And these are just for informational purposes because they're baked into the agreement. I'm not suggesting it's anything, it's things to be aware of in the future. The first one, of course, is that we have to notify NDOT and have a safety plan at least 10 days prior to us doing any work in the right-of-way, even after they're installed. Mark indicated to me that's no problem, that just to be aware of it, we have to do it. The second thing is that we are responsible under the terms of the agreement to repair or replace the beacons within 30 days notice from NDOT. So if there are a problem, we've got to do the repair and replace, and there will be a cost associated with that. The third, that we have to have a maintenance plan for the beacons by March 31st of each year. So that's probably something that Matt's going to have on his calendar every year to give them a maintenance plan. If they're putting them in, they're going to require us to maintain them. Number 4, at the conclusion of the agreement, we're required to remove them at our cost, all of those. So there would be a cost associated with that, obviously. The Article 3 in the agreement has them not responsible for any liability or any financial costs associated with the beacon. So even though we're getting this opportunity, we're going to be completely liable for any of those if they get knocked down, so on and so forth. This is really important for all the department heads because we are agreeing with NDOT on this and they are using funds, federal funds, I believe, to do this. There's a provision in any contract that the city enters into for anything over $100,000 that we now include an anti-lobbying provision in each one of our contracts. So if any department head is thinking about doing something for more than $100,000, obviously you're going to get approval of this board or the council. There is a certification that has to be attached to that contract, even if it's not got anything to do with school, and just $100,000 or up. So that's a provision of this contract, or we lose the funding that's associated with this. There's a hold harmless and indemnify that the city has to give to NDOT, but it's only related to us holding them harmless for our own negligence. And so that's probably not as onerous as maybe you're going to hear in the next conversation that we have. The last thing, there are some NDOT standard specs that I asked Mark look into, and he indicated to me that we could comply with that with regard to how they install these things. And NDOT has the absolute discretion without any input from us to terminate this agreement, which would then trigger the provisions for us for incurring the cost to remove them. So again, just informational purposes. More importantly, while I had the entire group here together, reminder, if there's a $100,000 contract, we've got something we've got to put in every one of those contracts, even though it's not triggered. I've never known us to lobby in Washington DC, but we need to put that in the contract no matter what. And so with that, I just wanted to share those comments. Yes, Mark?
And I will share that the anti-lobbying agreement is included in the contracts that I've been involved with. Even the Active Adult Center, I believe it's in there as well.
It's standard language, but I sometimes get them from other department heads, maybe don't have them. We need to start inserting those, yeah.
The other thing is the equipment is ours. It's equipment that was procured under federal aid contracts, 2 different projects. We're not receiving any funds at all under this agreement.
It's the right-of-way provisions that
Yeah,
that requires.
yes.
Okay.
So, Mark, just a question, if we would have, where we have these school zone and beacons before, if it's in the state right-of-way, it's the same as this, correct? It would be the same
That's correct.
liability, and we already
Yes.
have some of those in
We
there.
don't have any in, well, I take that back.
44.
This is on State Road 44 that this applies to. We also have pedestrian crossing beacons at Commerce Parkway in 31 and at Mallory Parkway in 31. So I have been told that NDOT is preparing a similar use agreement for the US 31 project that will cover all of the things such as trails, any lighting that we have, like the bollard lighting, probably include those, any school, or I'm sorry, any road crossing, pedestrian crossing signals. All of those will be included in this joint use maintenance agreement.
And Mayor, I would add, the reason that this doesn't bother me at all, the indemnification and that, is it's indemnifying them from our negligence. Okay, so that's what we insure ourselves for. The other thing I would point out is indemnifying NDOT has the same tort cap immunity that we have, which is a $700,000 exposure. So it's only related to our negligence. Oftentimes, the indemnities are written, even if the other party was negligent, we would have to indemnify them. That is not the case here. So I don't have any concerns. It was just a matter of making sure everybody's aware of it.
Okay. And I think I'm good with it because of other projects that we have with the school lights, and it's basically the same thing.
So if I'm understanding correctly, there's no cost to us for the equipment and installation,
Correct.
but the ownership will transfer to us, and we're responsible for,
We already own the equipment.
You already-
This is equipment we've purchased through our match on federal aid, on 2 federal aid projects. So there's no financial, there's no direct cost from this agreement other than we have to maintain the equipment. We have to provide staff to be able to do the maintenance on the equipment, or if there's damage, to replace it. So it's,
Are we installing the equipment?
we will install, part of the equipment's already installed. The school zone beacons that are there currently are owned by NDOT. Those are going to be removed because our equipment is much better. It allows us to remotely change the scheduling on those beacons. It allows us to remotely determine if there's a problem with the beacons. Say if there's a lamp out, all you do is look on the computer and it tells you that remotely. And you can go in and change the programming on these. It's not one at a time like you would have to do if we didn't have this remote equipment. We'd have to go out to each beacon and go in and hook a laptop up to it and change the programming. We can do it online, and they're grouped together, like the beacons out near the elementary schools on Eastview Drive. those are all a group. So we can go in and just select all those, change the programming for all of them at one time. And it just makes it so much more efficient.
Okay. So
But there
you
is no charge to use their right-of-way either. I mean,
No,
that's
there's
why they
no
say
charge.
no financial
No.
can- Okay.
commitment from us.
So you can take our school calendar and program the beacons from here.
Yes, and that's what I've done in the past. The school corporation is now taking over that. So I'm here as a resource
The IT
for them.
department?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the IT department, it's Benji Betts.
Okay.
Yeah, he's.
Facilities.
Yep.
Okay. Great. All right, I'll make a motion to approve and execute the joint use and maintenance agreement with NDOT for school zone and pedestrian beacons located on State Road 44.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next item, request discussion. Notice we said discussion, and board action on proposed conversation of streetlights to LED through agreement with Duke Energy, city engineer Mark Richards, and Langray.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll give just a brief background of what we're trying to do here. We have a large number of lights, street lights in town that are already LED. It's, for instance, all the ones along Jefferson Street, King Street, as part of the State Road 44 relinquishment project. There is still a large number in town that are not LED. They're the older high-pressure sodium lights that don't last as long. They require more maintenance. They require much more electricity. And we've been given an opportunity to consider looking at converting those remaining street lights to LED lights. Right now there are, it's about 719 fixtures that would be upgraded. This is all the street lights in the city right of way and within, say, parks facilities. But it does not include private lights that are like security lights that are owned by residents or businesses. The current cost of energy to the city for those 719 lights is estimated to be $6,370.34 per month. The cost would be, after a conversion, would be $4,655.21 per month for 10 years. That's pretty significant savings. That's about $1,700 a month. Times 12 months is a little over $20,000 a year. It also, as I said, would decrease the amount of maintenance that's required. Residents also like the LED lighting better than high-pressure sodium because it's a different temperature or color, and just gives better lighting. There's also a $22,230 one-time rebate to the city for converting, and total savings, including the one-time rebate over the 10-year period of the agreement, would be just over $225,000. So there's some incentive there to make that change. There are some indemnification clauses, which Ms. Gray talked about with the NDOT agreement, that have her a little bit concerned, and I'll turn this over to her.
I'm always the bad guy, aren't I? Yeah. I appreciate Mark. Yeah, because as outlined, that's a no-brainer, right? Can we save, $200,000? It makes sense. And all that sounded good until they sent me the agreements that were sent. Interestingly enough, we have on occasion, anytime we, in fact, Joanne, I know, has brought lighting agreements that you've seen and you've signed. The terms in the master agreement that they were sending to us amended all of our other agreements if we were to sign this, which got me wondering why. So I took a pretty deep dive into it, and there were 3 things that did not necessarily appear in all of the other agreements that we had done. They indicated they were just revising their forms, but I found it an opportune time for them to do that, and there are 3 things that they've included. The first one is for informational purposes. Quite frankly, I don't know there would be anything else to change about it, but it's important to note that the charges for the lights are governed by the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. That's the way it is always. So if they raise the rates, that would be the place that we would have to appeal to if they were going to raise the rates. But that's equally applicable to us as it is to any resident that's out there. So just something to know of, but not anything really that we can do about it. The second thing is in the agreements that weren't necessarily in the other agreements was a provision that the state would, or I'm sorry, that the city would be responsible for any taxes, comma, if applicable. Well, we are a tax-exempt entity, and so my argument would be that it's not applicable. However, most times when I ask, will you put a provision in there that says that your customer is a tax-exempt entity and we will provide you with a tax-exempt certificate, they will amend their agreement to reflect that, because we don't like to get hit with pass-through taxes maybe that we aren't responsible for, but they're responsible for, and they pass them through. They refuse to make any amendment whatsoever. I still have my argument, but they refuse to make any change. Again, probably a nominal amount, not anything to be concerned about. The third thing that does have me concerned, in this agreement, they are now they require the city of Franklin to hold them harmless and indemnify them from any and all liability. Not just our own negligence, but any and all liability that may come as a result of these polls. Duke is different than INDOT because, as we've talked about before, the Indiana Tort Claims Act limits a governmental entity's responsibility or liability for personal injury, death, things of that nature, to $700,000 per person and or $5 million per event. And so even if, God forbid, somebody climbs one of these light poles, gets electrocuted and becomes a quadriplegic, that kind of a case could be exceedingly high in terms of verdict values. You're talking $20, $25 million that happen if it's a young kid or something of that nature. Normally, the responsibility, even if we were negligent, obviously we never want to be negligent, would be limited to $700,000. If, however, the Duke were sued because of something they didn't fix it, there was a faulty wire or something of that nature, we would then also be responsible for Duke's negligence, which is unlimited. They don't have that tort claims cap. So that's the state fair stage case all over again. That's happened. So holding somebody harmless, not a big deal. If you remember, what hold harmless means is the city wouldn't sue Duke, but indemnifying Duke means that the city would be responsible for any damages they were responsible for to third parties. And that, however remote it might be, could be significant. Now, I use the term, it's remote. I don't know the last time one of those cases happened, but I never anticipated the state fair stage would collapse either. And that's the kind of thing that would be catastrophic if it happened. Now, with that, I leave you guys with the tough decision on whether or not the $225,000 savings is worth the very remote risk that it could be a high verdict, but I felt I would be remiss if I did not raise that issue so you can all think about it.
So, of course, everything Lynn tells me I take very seriously and really look at things and make phone calls myself. And I did call, Greenwood has entered into this agreement. They've already got their lights switched out. It's already done. I'm not so sure that they were totally aware of how it was.
And then when you raised it, Shauna was.
Yeah.
Shauna goes, I don't like it.
but they did it anyway. And then I try to think, okay, I've been involved 15 years in local government. How many times have we had somebody hit a light pole? I'm not saying a telephone pole, a pole that has a light on it, and they've actually been sued. I can't remember one, quite honestly, through that 15 years that I've been involved. Also, I did call my contact at Duke Energy, and their response, it's no different than any other one that we have. And I brought to their attention, yeah, it is because of the cap, and they're supposed to get back with me, and they haven't got back with me yet. The other thing is, they did clarify that if somebody hits the pole, knocks it over, they come and fix it, like they do now, and they go after the party their insurance company that knocked it over. So I do realize there might be a risk, but I think there's a risk if we plant a tree in a tree plot somewhere and somebody hits the tree and kills himself. There's a risk there too of our trees. So, but what I think I would like to do tonight is get all the questions that Tina or Kenny may have, and we look at tabling this till the next meeting, and I can maybe get a few more answers with any questions that you may have out of my contact at Duke Energy, which may just be what you have is what you have. We can't change anything. So I don't know that.
And I think that's what they said. And to your point, you're right. I mean, walking in here was a risk, right? The risk that we don't now have, nor would we have under any set of circumstances, is being responsible for somebody else's negligence. That's where, and I am quite confident that the previous agreements did not have that language that's in this master agreement, and I think that was intentional. I do not believe that to be just as a matter of course. Here's your incentive, but here's the trade-off. And it may very well be a good one, but there is definitely a trade-off.
And another question that I had for Duke Energy today was, okay, let's say we don't do this. How long is it going to take you when the lights go out? Are you going to replace them with LED anyway? And I think Rick had told me that he knows that they have done that in the past. However, they told me today they would go back with what they have, and I just find that hard to believe that they would do that. So, I mean, that's where we're at. I think I have a few more questions, so I would like to table it, and I'd like to hear Kenny and Tina, if you guys have anything that I need to be asking Duke whenever I talk to him.
It's amazing we're talking about, using LED light bulbs, and it seems like we're late to the party concerning LED light bulbs, right? It's 2024, maybe I'm wrong.
It was
That's
not
fine.
long ago that Duke didn't offer LED fixtures for streetlights. It's just been in the last probably 10 years that those have become available. Other utilities did offer them, Duke did not.
Right, 10 years is a long time, change a light bulb.
And I did have a electrician, I think about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, wanting to get a contract through Duke to do this, and I think, but we would have had to pay the bill at that time, and it was well over $1 million when I talked to that electrician.
Yeah,
And they were gonna
we've talked about it before.
Yeah, and they were going
A
to get
lot.
rebates and all kinds of stuff. Well, this is kind of the rebate here that Duke is doing themselves. They're dangling a carrot out in front of you and say, look at this good deal we're going to give you, but by the way, you're taking all the liability.
Well,
So,
their legal teams
yeah, so it's,
rolled it into, anyway. You're asking for a request?
tonight I'm
to
asking that we table it to
table
the
it.
next meeting. And if you have any questions that I need to be asking Duke, let me know.
I think you
So-
pretty much covered them.
What is the initial cost for the installation
That's included
in the monthly?
in the monthly, yes.
Okay. And then, I mean, could we find another contractor to install them, or does it have to be installed by Duke?
This is a program that Duke offers where they offer the rebates. If we hired another contractor to do this, we'd be paying that contractor to do the installation. The way this is set up, they're giving us a rebate and they're lowering our power cost and paying for the upgrade of all those lights.
Wow.
We're like leasing it, right, Mark, basically? I mean, we don't own these lights.
We do not own the lights, but we pay the power bill.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And we own the liability.
And we do own that
Completely.
completely.
Yeah, I mean, this is the language that does not appear. The customer, us, shall indemnify, defend, hold harmless, and release company, including company's parents, subsidiary, and affiliate companies, and all their respective employees, officers, directors, and assigns, from and against all claims, demands, causes of action, liabilities, losses, damages, and/or expenses, including reasonable attorney's fees, resulting from or alleged to result from the installation, operation, and/or disposal of the equipment and related materials covered herein, including all liability from incidental, punitive, exemplary, or consequential damages. Now, that same language appears with the state of Indiana. I'm not worried, because the state of Indiana is capped like we are,
Yeah.
Right.
but Duke does not have the similar tort claims cap.
Are there any other steps that we can take to pull it back under that $750,000 umbrella?
My email to them, or I'm sorry, to Mark, but to them via Mark, as I said, I wondered, blah, 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 said everything I just said. Any chance they would agree that we would release and hold them harmless to the extent of liability created by the Indiana Tort Claims Act and law? The answer was, it is as it is. No changes. They would make no changes.
Wow. It's not shocking.
So we're trying to do the right thing and,
Yeah, I mean, it's
Penalized.
the legalese. Yeah, because going to the LED is a no-brainer, right?
right,
That's
right.
the-
And a responsible thing to do.
Right. And it may never
take.
come to fruition. But,
Sure.
but, you know, you all have the right to deliberate that discussion.
How does our
We do
what
not,
does our insurance carrier say about this risk?
not this, I've not consulted with John specifically on this.
Mm-hmm.
John would tell me never to execute any hold harmless in any. I mean, but sometimes we have to get the product that we want.
Right.
And again, the hold harmless is less, it's the indemnification
Yeah.
that gets you. Holding harmless says we won't go after you if you've screwed up something. That's not what I'm worried about. It's the third party that goes after you, and then we have to step in and cover whatever they've gotten you against. That's the indemnification.
Because they messed up.
That is correct.
That makes sense.
But that's,
If a light falls off and hits somebody in the head or falls off and tears their car up, they're saying we're responsible for that.
well, they're saying that if the person who got hit in the head calls them and makes them responsible for that, we've got to then step in
And defend them.
defend them, including their attorney's fees, including whatever damages are assessed against them.
Doesn't make any sense.
Gotta love our utilities.
That's nuts.
So Duke, out of all of our cable companies, Duke is the one that's the easiest one to work with, and I don't think that they'll come off of this, but we'll see.
So I make a motion to table the discussion of board action on proposed conversion of streetlights to LED through agreements with Duke Energy.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to table with the LED lights. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir? Did you say something?
Oh, I said thank you.
Oh, okay. Let's see, the next item, approval of revised change orders 2 and 3 for Fire Station 21, Fire Chief Joshua Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Change order number 2, you guys saw this last meeting. I'm just presenting it different this time with the right presentation. Change order number 2 is for some rooms that got left off of change order number 1 for epoxy and carpet. And gutter replacement. In the contract, it was stated that they would repair or replace any existing guttering on the building, which would leave the building with 2 different types of guttering on it. The credit they gave us for the repair or replace was $3,860, which brought the guttering downspout to $13,523. So they took care of their part of it off of putting new guttering on the building. The bay doors was an unforeseen condition when they took the brick off the front, that they had to do some repairs from 50 years ago, building construction. Then the soffit around the perimeter of the building, just to tie in with all the new look of the building. The soffit was going to stay 30-some-year-old soffit. It's all dingy and stuff, so you're going to have brand-new building and then a dingy soffit. And then they gave us a credit that we had left over of 55,69.48 to bring that total to 41,966 on that change order. So that's up for vote if you guys would so vote on
Okay, I
that
think-
change order.
Okay, I think first, just real quick, I think we voted to approve something last, so we probably need to rescind that and
Right.
explain that a
Yes.
little bit.
Yes.
You're reading my notes, yeah. Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Mark, for doing it. Remember, this is the one last time that I couldn't make the
Questioning,
numbers.
yes.
I couldn't
Yes,
make the
ma'am.
numbers work. Now I understand, and after I talked to them, now I understand. So we broke it out into two separate change orders. And so previously, the board, by a 2-0 vote, moved to approve the change order to, I think the motion needs to be made to rescind the previous approval of change order number 2 and move to approve this change order in the amount of 41,000, whatever the number is. I can't-
966.
I'm squinting.
So am I correct in that with both of these change orders, or with 1, 2, and 3, we're at about 11%?
Correct,
Okay,
right. We're under the 20%.
okay.
Yes.
So Kenny, do you want to make the motion to rescind change order number 2?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to rescind the change order for, change order number 2 for the Fire Station 21.
And I will second that.
Well, that's not this change order, right? It's not this change order. It was the one previously
It's the
approved.
previous one.
Is it number one or number 2?
It's number 2, sir.
Number two.
That's what I said, was
Yes.
number 2.
Yeah, but it's not,
From the previous meeting.
from the
haven't we-
previous
From the
meeting.
previous meeting, that is $41,966.
Yes, the change order didn't change any. We just have to rescind it
Right.
and
Okay.
then vote on it again.
Okay, I will second that so we can get this right. So we just made a motion to rescind the change order from last meeting. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're ready to move forward.
I'll make a motion to approve the revised change order number 2 and change order number 3 as presented for Fire Station 21.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, Chief. I think we got it right this time.
Yes, sir.
I think you
Yes,
did.
sir.
Thank you.
And then change order number 3, this is where the whole confusion was last time, and we got
She
that.
just approved it.
Just approved it.
She
We're
just
done.
approved it.
Number 3?
Yeah, she did. Her
Okay.
motion was to
Okay.
approve 2 and 3.
Okay,
That's
thank you.
correct.
Okay. The next item, request approval of revised SOP 1.23, Police Chief Kirby Cochran and Lynn Gray.
Me?
If you don't mind, I mean,
I don't mind at all.
simple.
If you'll recall, I don't remember when, but it's been probably a year or two ago, the board approved a proposed revision to our standard operating procedure regarding high-speed chases as it related to motorcycles. And the idea, of course, is unless there is a serious felony that's in existence, that the risk to both our police officers, to civilians, even perhaps to potential defendants was too great in those lower levels, and there were other investigative techniques that could be utilized that were probably better for us to do. About a week ago, I think, Chief?
Right.
Much to his credit, one of our patrol officers ran into a situation where he believed that it was a person on a mopedish kind of thing that was fleeing, and given the circumstances and the number of people that were around, he did not pursue a chase and was able to use police work to figure out who it was, but didn't pursue a high-speed chase. He then went to his lieutenant and explained that what his rationale was for not doing that and why it was some safety features. And as a result of that, his lieutenant talked to Deputy Chief. Deputy Chief reached out to me and said, what do we do in those cases where it's not technically a motorcycle but a motorized vehicle? My response was, first of all, since I've never been involved in a high-speed chase, that as long as it's legal, I think we have to give our officers discretion when in those non-serious violent felonies. And I appreciated the fact that they exercised that discretion, and they shouldn't probably be in trouble for that. But to make it absolutely clear, we could simply revise the SOP to include those kinds of motorized vehicle, because quite frankly, the rationale behind it's the same, whether it's a motorcycle or a moped or something of that nature, and it didn't impact the investigation or our ability to enforce the law. So with that, I bring you this revised one that cleans that part up, and I don't think I have anything else to add, Chief.
No, I just would say that what's happened is with all the motor vehicles on the roadway, it seems like every other month there's a different scooter or some sort that shouldn't be on the road, that's on the road, but they're street legal, so. And pursuits are not my favorite thing to begin with, so. Much needed change.
So where in this document was the change made?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I thought that
It's
Deputy
on,
Chief
it's on
Summers,
Page 9,
yeah,
subsection P.
didn't highlight.
Kind of looks in, it's a
Yeah.
little darker.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see it now.
toward the end.
Motorcycles and motor-driven cycles.
Yeah.
Okay.
In extreme and exigent, obviously, if it's something extraordinary, they would go ahead and pursue it. But
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah, and quite frankly, I was impressed by the discretion. Like I said, I think we've got to give our men and women some discretion out in the field without them being fear of retribution, because it doesn't follow the exact letter. It was the intent was certainly followed, not the exact letter.
I make a motion to approve the Franklin Police Department SOP procedure number 1.23.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item, approval and acceptance of secondary plat for Store Lot Franklin. Senior Planner Joanna Tennell.
Good evening. This property is located on approximately 10 acres it's at 1605 Graham Street. It runs from Graham Street all the way over to Commerce Parkway. There's currently 5 structures that are under construction. There's supposed to be a total of 14 at the end of development of that property, but it is part of a subdivision and needs to be accepted and approved by the Board of Works for right-of-way dedication and establishment of all the required easements. So it's ready for the board's consideration and action.
I would make a motion to approve and accept the secondary plat for Store Lot Franklin.
I'll sec-
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Joanna.
Thank you.
Okay, under other business, I would also make a motion as I read this, request to file liens on unkept property. That's my motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll start with department reports. Chip, we'll start with you.
This Friday is a concert at the amphitheater. The band is Trainwreck. I don't know anything about that, and I hope to see you there.
Did they get the pickleball courts today?
They're working on them as we speak.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Chief?
I don't have anything, Mayor.
Chief?
Just to let you know, 3 new gentlemen started today, and a couple weeks we'll have them swearing in.
Okay. Swearing at them or swearing in?
Depends on how they act, sir.
We'll be swearing them in, yeah. Sherry?
Nothing additional, thank you.
Rick?
I don't have anything, sir.
Krista?
I don't have anything tonight.
Mark?
I do. I have a change order for the asphalt milling, patching, and resurfacing of Earlywood Drive and Umbarger Lane. If you'll recall, that's a CCMG project. We made a decision after the project was awarded and work was starting to be done to reduce the amount of milling on Earlywood Drive because if you'll recall last year, we did full-depth patching on a big portion of Earlywood Drive. Well, the part that we reduced the milling on was almost totally full-depth patching. So we didn't really need to go in and mill out brand-new asphalt that we just put in. So we made that change and decreased the milling depth from 4.5 inches to 1.5 inches so that we could put in the surface layer. And that results in a cost savings on the contract of $10,168. The original contract price was $797,803.03. And the new contract price with this change order is $787,635.03. I would recommend approval of this and ask the board to authorize the mayor to sign on the board's behalf.
And this is a community crossing, so will half of this be a savings for the
Half
city?
of
and
it will
then
be a
half
savings for
state?
the city and half for the state, correct?
And our thoughts are, when we go for Community Crossings Round 2 this year, any savings that we have on this?
This is from last year.
This is from last year's?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, gotcha.
And there will be additional savings as well that will be, the reason we had to do this change order is because we did not have a line item for 1.5 inch milling, so we had to add that to the contract. The additional savings will be the 3 inches of asphalt that we won't have to put in, so that'll be just a reduction in the final change order for the quantity of asphalt installed.
Okay, thank you. With that being said, you don't have any issues with this one, do you? Since you just got it?
No, money's going down, that's good.
Yeah. I would make a motion for the change order on Earlywood Drive that Mark has brought to us.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that was for you to sign.
Thank you, that's all I have.
And I will also make a motion that I sign it.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Kenny. Sally?
Yes, sir. Earlier this year, the board approved a project to install a conveyor auger system in our biosolids building, and that's underway. It was delivered last week, and they're about a quarter of the way through. It's kind of big equipment, but it's happening, so
That's a $474,000 project.
I couldn't remember the price. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
okay. Tara? Jan? Tina?
Thanks to everybody for sympathies and understanding in my extended absence in May.
Absolutely. Glad you're back.
Thank you.
Kenny?
Don't have anything, Mayor, thank you.
Lynn?
Nope, talk too much, I'm done.
And I don't have anything to add, so thank all of you for being here, and you're the A-team. Thank you.